What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make and Break It. My name's Andrew, and today, my hood's open, and we're gonna be hopefully finishing up the interior stripping of our Mazda RX8. Alright, so last time we were in here, we were trying to clear out all the seats and a lot of the trim. We didn't get all of it out, but we got a lot of it. But we need to get kind of the rest of this stuff out of this main compartment at least, so we can try fitting seats and maybe a new steering wheel today. Because that'll be what really lets us fit for a roll cage. This thing's really annoying right here. It's because this is going to be a race car, and so we're going to need a roll cage in here so that we can, go compete safely anyway. And that brings me to kind of the next hurdle. Besides clearing all the rest of the stuff out, that's really just unbolting things and pulling wires out of the way and stuff like that. I actually do want to label wires. So when you're doing this, you're going to come up with a bunch of different things, especially on modern cars. I don't know if you guys can see this box right here. You're going to want to label that stuff because, to be honest, I'm not going to need all of the pieces. I don't need the wiring down here for the seat sensors or airbag sensors or anything like that. I don't need any of this airbag wiring that goes into here. We don't need any of the speakers that are in the doors, anything like that. But we're going to want to be able to pare down this harness into something that is just the essentials for what we'll need for the rest of this car. And, well, I don't know if you've looked at a electrical diagram recently, but those are, generally they're not good. So, what we're going to do is we're going to label stuff as we pull it off. Most of the stuff we pulled off right now I don't really need to label because I won't need to put it back together. But we're going to start labeling stuff now as we pull it so that I know which wires I need to keep with this wiring harness, and maybe we'll be able to simplify our lives here in the future. So we're going to get going pulling everything and hopefully make some progress today. Okay, everyone, it is the next day. You notice it's light outside. I've decided that I want to keep these door liners for the front doors because they close up this area nicely, and they basically don't add any real space this way. But I decided that after I'd already taken it out of that side. So I had to put that one back, but I put that one back and the window is now down, so I want to get the window up. So I've actually reconnected the driver's side window control panel here. So hopefully I can get the passenger side windows up here when the batteries go back on. But at this point now, once we get past this and I get those windows back up and everything open back there, and I'll prop that open and all that sort of stuff, we really are at the point where we're starting to disconnect like major instrument and wiring loom connectors. So at that point we are to the point where it's going to be harder for us to go back and open something up or recheck it out than it is to just continue going and fix it all later. So what we're going to do at this point is we're actually going to go pull the last two airbags before we go hook up the battery, just in case some of the weird way this is set up now, it gives a weird voltage and actually blows up an airbag. So we're going to disconnect the airbag here and the airbag over there and get those out of the way and into our safety box, which is kind of like that first box over there. And then we'll reconnect our battery, get everything reset up, and start doing the final disconnects of our main. Ooh, I had some interesting lunch today. Of our main dash area, we'll get all that stuff out of the way, and get our trunk cleaned out, because then we can start doing real measurements and fitting ourselves for our seats and our roll cage. If anyone was curious what an entire Mazda RX-8's interior looks like piled in a corner of a tiny garage, well, here you go. So, it's the end of day 2, and day 3, I don't know. And we've pretty much got everything out of the interior. As you saw, there's a lot of pieces, and there's even more kind of just through that door over there. Headliners and stuff like that. Some small pieces I'm trying to save, even though I might save some of the stuff from this pile. But we are pretty much there. We have all the major stuff out, and the car is looking very clean. Although I just blew up that light right there. That was the sort of accent light in the door. So here's what the interior is looking like right now. Can see we've cleared out everything to the back, and I've got something in there and just in case the door closes. Hopefully it will stop the trunk from closing, because I don't really want to keep climbing back and forth to open up the trunk. And in here we are clear of almost everything that's in the way. We might still try and pull a lot of the air conditioning and air vent units, just because we don't need anything that big or heavy, and we can probably figure out a way to do something with something much lighter to get our defrosting that we need for kind of rally racing. But I'll look into that. We don't have to immediately adjust any of that right now, but thing is looking pretty good. So I'm going to take a seat back here and we'll talk about what's left to do. Oh. Oh. Back seat's not that uncomfortable right now, except for there being like no real backrest. Anyway, so what's left to do in here? Well, before we put the cage in, we're going to really want to strip back a lot of these wires and stuff around, because they're running right next to where we're going to be putting cage footings and things like that. So that'll have to happen at some point here. We're also going to want to get rid of a lot of the sound deadening material. You can kind of see that stuff in here and up there, because that's also kind of going to be in the way of our of our cage footings, as well as it's just extra weight for something you don't really need on a race car. And while we're not expecting this race car to be particularly competitive, I don't want to just give up weight where I can. Minor things, we've still got some vents down over here. These are the vents that actually brought air conditioning to the rear passenger, since we're not going to have rear passenger, and we're probably also not going to have anything other than defrost sort of available to us. Then we don't really need those, so those have to go. Oh, also the sunroof. There's a light shining down in that right now, so we're not going to blind everyone watching this video. The sunroof also has to go, but I don't really want to do that tonight. It's getting very late, and I don't want to daka anything while the future Mrs. M&B is asleep upstairs. While we're back here, I did want to have a little bit of discussion about this dash, which is pretty horrible to get out. So there's 700 million Phillips head screws that held this thing on. So there's like one here, one there. In fact, I don't know if you can see them from this far back. You see all these holes in the main spar? Those are all Phillips head screw holes that had a Phillips head screw. Unfortunately, stuff like this one in the center here was behind two removable panels. So if you're trying to remove your dash without removing the entire center spar section, which if you're going to be building a roll cage, would make sense, because most roll cages are going to leave this center spar section intact. And if you're not going to do that, then you can pull it and, you know, deal with whatever. But if you're going to do leave the center spar section intact, you're going to have to pull every single removable panel, and a lot of those are right up here in the center stack. So when you're starting to remove Phillips head screws, that actually allows you to pull the vents first and then the top hat, and then you can get to the final couple screws to get everything out of the way. The other thing you're going to want to keep in mind is you will need to drop the steering wheel off of its mounts in order to get the dash out and over the steering wheel. Alternately, you could probably pull the steering wheel, but I wanted to leave it in place so that I could get like a full cool DIY for replacing your steering wheel on an RX8. But you will, if you're going to leave the steering wheel intact, you are going to have to drop it. Now, if you want to pull it, you won't need to drop it. It should pull a lot easier than what it showed on the time lapse for me. But take your time with this thing, feel it out. I had to disconnect a lot of the stuff on the back side of the steering wheel and get the wiring looms and stuff disconnected from. There was several wires. That one specifically was catching me up at the very end, that were actually connected through the little plastic pieces on the inside of the dash, and they were holding me up at the very end. So do pay attention. You're gonna have to work slowly all the way down, give it a little pull, feel where your resistance come from, and then look at that. But it is eventually possible. I managed to do it, so you can get it done too. So I think we're going to call it here then. We have some final touches that we need to do for putting in roll cages, but pretty much we need to pull out the sunroof, and we're ready to fit racing seats. So thanks for watching, guys. My name's Andrew. This is another Make It Break It YouTube video. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. You guys know the deal. If you guys want to see some of this stuff in a more how-to fashion, I felt like there's some decent stuff already out there on how to pull various bits of the interior of the RX8, so I didn't want to replicate any of that sort of stuff. But if you're curious about any specific stuff, we're going to be changing our wheel out, we're going to be fitting seats for roll cages, sunroof, any sort of DIY stuff like that, please let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, stay tuned for more stuff on this build and some adventures on the motorcycles coming up soon. So thanks for watching, guys. My name's Andrew, and don't forget, whether you're making it or breaking it, the build doesn't have to be pretty, but it probably should be functional. Anyway, we'll catch you later.